take you to the broadcast of It's Time with Reverend Nathaniel W. Martin. Here's Reverend Martin.
All right, thank you, Dr. Blackwell. Let me say Hotep Habaragani to my Africana Studies colleagues and contemporaries all. And let me hasten to say good morning and good afternoon, good evening, but certainly never good night and never ever goodbye, because I personally have always found goodbyes traumatizing. My name is the Reverend Nathaniel Wayne Martin. I'm the pastor of the New Life Institutional Baptist Church here in the city of Los Angeles, and we're worshiping with our sister church, the Shiloh Missionary Christian Church. We're located at 8916 South Main Street here in the beautiful city of Los Angeles. Zip code is 9003. And this offering or episode that you're watching is a social justice episode, because Jesus was a social activist, all contrary to the Christian nationalists who aver to that. And as such, we try to address the needs of our people, or speak of the needs of our people, with a heavy emphasis on the environmental and the economic needs, because we live in a capitalistic society. You remember that passage of scripture where Jesus asked the disciple, to whom do the officials of any country or the king take tribute? And Simon Peter, I believe it was, answered and said, of the foreigners, the travelers. He said, go thou and do likewise. Go down to the sea and you'll find a fish, there'll be a gold coin in his mouth, take that and pay our tribute, taxes in other words. And so we as a people are always having to pay the freight, having to pay the cost of the rulers. We do have a king now. If he gets in office, it'll be Donald Trump. Lord help us. But we're a nation of laws, and we do live under a capitalistic system which has wreaked havoc, I should put in, around the world. And the poor are always having to pick up the costs that the rich have failed to pay. The rich do not pay their fair share, whether it's the Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or any other institution. Bill Gates and a lot of the billionaires that are the rulers, real rulers of the world, not just America, have lawyers so that they avoid paying taxes. They have all types of LLCs and charitable organizations that help them to avoid the tax bite that the poor, which is me and you, are required to pick up. Right? Our scripture is Proverbs 14th chapter and verse 34, which says that righteousness exalteth a nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. And following that in the New Testament, Ephesians 6 chapter 1, that I always quote, picking up our reading, finding my brethren and my sisters, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And you must take note that Paul says against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And that spiritual wickedness is in high places is running rampant in our world at this time. we don't have time to look at the Twilight Anthology, because we got to deal with real-time spiritual wickedness in high places. The theologian says this refers back to the angelic host that was cast down from heaven, that they are down here in the earth. You get intimations or hints of it in the book of Revelation, where the angels say, woe unto the earth, for he has come down to you, and he knoweth that he hath but a short time. So we have all of these intimations and hints to let us know that they're unseen by us is a spiritual presence of demonology, fallen spirits that seeking whom they may devour, as the devil said in the book of Job. So we have to stay on our P's and Q's, because these spiritual wickedness in high places manifest themselves as governments or corporations, organizations, and incorporations, and the like. And so you do well to take heed to the things that you see happening. These police agencies, law enforcement agencies, a lot of them are just appendages of the spiritual wickedness in high places. That's why they do wickedly. Our police force was modeled on the old slave patrol from slavery time. That's why the police are so brutal toward black people, because they used to could do that with impunity. And if a runaway slave was captured and the slave catcher killed him, he still got his money. And I'm afraid that that's the model that our modern day policing takes for its paradigm, for its marching orders. And you wonder why so many black people are killed by the police. Well, that's why, because the police was originally invested to hunt down runaway slaves. And slave codes, slave laws said that if the owner of a slave should be disciplining that slave, and then disciplining that slave, whether it was a field slave or a house slave, whether it was a woman or a man slave owner, if they cause that slave person to be killed, then they had immunity, which is what they're trying to give Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is going to give that total immunity, absolute immunity, to law enforcement. And you think it's open season now on black people. You just wait until then. All right. I want to, going back to Proverbs, righteousness exalteth the nation, but sin is a reproach to any people. I want to go to our current condition over in Lebanon. One reason I object and protest Netanyahu being allowed to come over here and make speeches and everything is because we have a president right now. His name is Joe Biden. And even though he has been rather feckless when it comes to Israel, and if you remember when Netanyahu was greeting President Biden, when President Biden was greeting Netanyahu, he said, I'm an Israeli Zionist, and President Joseph Robinette Biden is an Irish Zionist. Keep that Zionist in mind. He didn't say Jew, he said Zionist. And let me get some explication of that Zionist. That's an extremist. He believes that the land should be cleansed of any other nationality, and it should only be a Jewish land. I bring that up because war clouds are threatening against an expansion of what Israel has been doing in Gaza. Now that it's expanding to a larger regional war, which I guess is what Netanyahu was wishing for all the time, that he could drag the United States into a larger war, because who does he get all of his munitions from, all of his ordnance? From America, United States. We give them arms and everything, plus we give them a $4 billion annually, and so Netanyahu and his ilk say that they know they could not continue these wars without the continued diplomatic and military assistance of the United States. But now let me read here. Lebanon and Israel are both allies of the U.S. And America has poured billions of dollars in military aid into Lebanon. They trained tens of thousands of its troops and opened a proxy commando unit run by the U.S. Special Operations Forces, who have been there for 10 years. You see all of these movies where black ops and special ops. That's pattern after what the United States is doing overseas. All right. The U.S. has also cautioned Lebanese officials that it cannot prevent an Israeli invasion. I wonder why. When all of their munitions and all of their money, for the most part, comes from America, but yet we are weak and impotent and unable to rein in the Israelis. We can't say to them, hold up here, wait a minute, stop this. Something wrong right there. Biden's efforts to avert a wider war in Lebanon are plagued by the same failures as his policy toward Israeli slaughter in Gaza. Israeli officials acknowledge that Israel cannot survive without U.S. diplomatic and military support. And as a result, the U.S. could force Israel to change policy at any time. Wonder why it doesn't. Well, the answer is Biden is reluctant to employ this leverage, however, because he does not want to alienate AIPAC constituencies in the U.S. who have appreciated his steady support for the biggest mass killing of Palestinians in history. The U.S. has never been an honest, objective broker. Netanyahu really acts as if he was the president of the United States. He was given carte blanche treatment by the Congress last week. It was not President Biden that invited him to come, but the Congress. Remember, it was Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, and other MAGA Republicans, along with some Democrats, that extended the invitation. Also, how is it okay to condemn anti-Semitism solely, but not condemn anti-blackness, which, by the way, is practiced almost exclusively in the United States? Why does anti-Semitism get the attention of the government, but violent acts of anti-blackness are overlooked? How is it that we can pass legislation and laws that particularize one ethnic group for free speech protection, but not violent acts of anti-blackness? It seems that the Jewish supremacy has replaced white supremacy. and I find both of them equally repugnant and reprehensible. Now, let's talk about this week. The NABJ. Well, Donald Trump was invited to speak at the National Association of Black Journalists this week, and he proceeded to steal the show by insulting the host and changing the subject from himself to Kamala Harris's identity. Once again, he made himself the leading news headline. The National Association of Black Journalists became his foil. You'd think we had learned by now, but we keep falling for the same old okie doke, as they say in Louisiana. You know, he is a master at stealing the spotlight and attention. Remember when he questioned Obama's citizenship? And is it the same tactic is now being utilized against Vice President Kamala Harris? And so to all of our journalists, I say, wake up. Remember, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And so you cannot close your eyes and not see what is going on. We've seen this movie before, in other words. We know Donald Trump is just like the devil. He used many wicked devices and to throw you off center and get you looking the wrong way while he's going this way. And we have seen, like I said, we've seen this movie before. We've been to this show many times. So wake up, NABJ. Wake up, news media. Wake up, media personalities, and recognize what the game is. Game recognizes game. You know, it's not a new game. Just recognize it, and then you can maneuver to avoid a lot of the tricks and the traps and falling into the same old tricks and the same old traps from one campaign election cycle to another. And let me know what you think about it. I think it's high time that we stop all this rejoicing and get down to business. As Kamala Harris says, are we getting ready to put in the work? Are we going to put in the calls? Are we going to make the contacts to social media like Donald Trump and the Republicans are doing? Are we going to ask our friends and our families to vote? Are we willing to go knock on some doors and all of that type of thing? If you live in an area where you can knock on doors, you need to knock on some doors and remind people to vote and remind them what's at stake. I'm sure you heard it by now, Donald Trump in some speech here this week invoking or exhorting all the Christians to get out and vote. And he said, Christian, I'm a Christian and I love you Christians, and if you vote this time, you ain't gonna never have to vote no more. That was his word. And if you get gaslighted by that, you are very, very sinful. And you better hurry up and wake up and smell the coffee. Our democracy, as Joe Biden said, is hanging by a thread. Democracy means power of the people. The power of the government is in the people. And the people exercise that power every 2 to 4 years, 2 years for some House representatives, 6 years for senators, and every 4 years for a president. And that's just on the national ticket. Then you got the local ticket. You saw that Gavin Newsom is backing a plan to move all of the homeless. He haven't mentioned the homeless, but he's moving all the trash and all the temporary housing that the homeless have built. And they have passed laws now that the poor, you cannot sleep in your car, you cannot sleep in your truck, you can't sleep in your motorhome. Now, where you going to sleep if you ain't got no house and you ain't got no apartment? You know what I'm saying? And so these are punitive measures. While they may not mention the homeless by name, but they are certainly going to be the ones that are affected by these new state of California laws. And they're passing these laws at the behest of the rich landowners and the rich bureaucrats who don't want the homeless to be so near them, and they don't want the homeless to block their view of the beach or the ocean or whatever. And I think we're going to have an Olympics here before too long, and they don't want the world to see what a homeless problem we have in America, that we have failed to address and don't want to address. But we want to spend billions of dollars to move the homeless out of the state of California, out of Santa Monica, out of Venice, out of Los Angeles, and wherever they may be able to congregate. And you can't have the homeless cannot have a pillow, can't have a blanket, can't have a sheet, can't be laying down on the city streets, anything like that. And you say you are a what kind of nation? A Christian nation? And you're doing things like that to the poor? What did Jesus say? If you have done this unto the least of these, my brothers and my sisters, you have what? Done it unto me. Shame on Gavin Newsom. And yes, I voted for him, but I don't like this kind of policy. The state of California should be emulating what Karen Bass was attempting to do here in the city of Los Angeles, and she was doing very well. But I know that the real estate people were going to step in and scuttle it at some point. And the last I heard, they were charging the city of Los Angeles $70,000 for one unit, not the apartment building, but one unit in the apartment unit. Excuse me, an apartment building. And they have increased, in other words, the cost of affordable housing, because they don't want the poor, they don't want the homeless. And that is how they are undermining the well-meaning plans of Karen Bass. And I think Gavin Newsom would be better to spend his time at least studying what Karen Bass is attempting to do in the city of Los Angeles. I believe her objective before her first term was up was to get 7,000 people, homeless people, housed, and that may be a conservative figure, but I think that's what her goal was, to get at least 7,000 off the streets. But in housing, in other words, in housing units, not just sweeping them out the way like Gavin Newsom is doing, but to see that they get remedial help. And realistically, a lot of those people are not employable because of their age or because of their injuries. And a lot of those people look like me. They are my color, my people. And with the injuries from whatever cause there may be that they have received, a lot of them are not employable. They're not employable. But they had a meeting here this week at the City Hall to contemplate, hey there, young man, contemplate getting a guaranteed income. which is something that the late Dr. Martin Luther King was working toward. He had another name for it. It skips my mind at the moment. But it wasn't guaranteed income, but it was the same thing. In other words, that in the richest country in the world, and with prices going up, there should be a floor under the poor. So you got this. Okay, you're not gonna fall no further because we got this economic floor upon you. You're gonna get this much every month or every week, and the like, and kind of help you with your income, with your food and your housing and your utilities. It's, that's what Dr. King was working, called it a radical revolution of values. And that other term is escaping me right now. Getting old. But at least I not acknowledge it, not like Joe Biden. I ain't trying to hide it. But that's what the meeting was this Monday on the City Hall steps, was to acknowledge the plight of not only those who are already homeless, but those who are ready to become homeless. Remember, the cost of rent. I was at Carl Jr. this morning, and I looked up on the wall, and they had a old sign, how prices used to be. You could get a malt. Can you imagine a malt for 30 cents? As a matter of fact, I can remember gas was 26 cents a gallon when I was a little lad. But look how much it costs now. Ain't no 30-cent malts. You come in the door talking about, give me a malt for 30 cents. And then a hamburger was 35 cents. Where you gonna find a hamburger these days for 35 cents? I remember, I think it was McDonald's had 2 hamburgers, a little bitty hamburger too. But you could get, but it was reasonable. But it was, it was a kind of something that a poor man could afford, in the morning. You get you, if you had that money, you could go get 2 hamburgers at McDonald's, all like that. If it hadn't been for Jack in the Box, when I first come out here, I'd starve to death. Because at that time, you could get 2 tacos for $1, I think it was, or 99 cents. And that's what I lived on for a long time before I was able to make it. Of course, all that has changed now, and we can't go back to those days because the cost of living has really, really gone through the roof. Sugar used to be, you get a 5-pound bag of sugar for 25 cents right here in Los Angeles. You can't get that like that now. But anyway, as I wrap this up, I want you to know and remember that if you're working on a job and they don't want to pay you, do yourself a favor. And don't waste your life and don't waste your career getting caught in that trap of living paycheck to paycheck. If you working on a job and they don't want to give you what you are worth, take my advice and don't work for them. Thank you. Thank you, Doc. We're out of here. Love you.